This team's had a lot of success in big finals, big games. What's the emotions like in the camp after that one?
Obviously, disappointment. You work so hard to get to the final, and it's just, you kind of just miss that opportunity. So, yeah, disappointment. But I think overall everyone was pretty pumped to be here to the final, make it. But yeah, it's always when you just miss that, a huge opportunity by a little bit, leaves you a little bit empty.
Where do you think the game slipped away from you?
I think there was a lot of moments where kind of both teams wrestled back control. I think, that first innings lead was really important. I think that's an opportunity where you can kind of back the opposition out of the game and put on, well over 300 plus. And, the longer you drag it out, maybe the conditions help you out a bit more. But we didn't really give ourselves, big enough of a buffer there and let them back into the game.
Pat, obviously a lot of the discussion coming into the game was the top three. I appreciate it's soon after the game's finished, but do you think you've come away from this with more questions than answers about that?
It's we always knew this was going to be a one-off. It's pretty specific conditions over here. Again, losing the toss on day one and being sent into bat, it's never going to be easy for the top three. But I think there's probably quite a few people in the lineup that kind of wish they could have done a little bit more. And obviously, the top three was an obvious one in this game.
Pat, the pitch is obviously a big talking point. Changed drastically from day 2 to 3. What was your assessment of that?
Yeah, pretty much that. I think when there's cloud covers, it is real that the ball does a bit more. It zips around a bit more. And I think England's one of those places where when it's tricky to bat, it's one of the trickiest places in the world, but when it's flat, it's one of the flattest places in the world. So, I thought they batted fantastically. They didn't really give us a chance. They, had a really tight defence, and whenever we got a little bit wide, they scored. But, it didn't feel like there was a heap in it for us kind of in the second innings compared to the first innings.
Pat, once again, it's pretty fresh. It's just the result just happened. But with the WTC itself, it goes from cycle to cycle. So this being the culmination, does it feel like the start of a new cycle in terms of just the Australian team itself?
I think in some ways you do. I don't particularly know why, but it does feel like a little bit of a fresh start. Fast forward, a couple of years, you start maybe thinking about who's going to be in, hopefully if we make the final, who's going to be in that, and maybe do we want to get some games into them? Do we feel like now's the right time to change, or do you hold, with the team that got us to the final? So, I think we'll kind of got a couple of weeks before the first test in the Windies, so I think we'll sit down and have a bit of a think and after we digest this game. But for me, I think a new WTC cycle in some ways does feel like a bit of a reset.
Pat, there were some sort of nerves evident from South Africa this morning in the period before lunch, and you were able to sort of string it out. Did it make you think, gee, if only we had another 50-odd runs, or something like that?
That would have been nice. I think yesterday, with Joshy and Starkey in up to 270, it's like, okay, that's a bit more of a buffer. Of course, you would have liked it, a few more, but we probably felt like we got a few extra with those guys. But as I said earlier, the conditions can change quite a bit. So while it was quite flat, it was kind of just draw it out as long as we can. Try and, for the pace bowlers, just try and go for 2 runs and over. Lino was looking really likely, and you never know. Maybe some clouds come over. Maybe a new ball does something different. But just try to string it out as more and more nerves play into it as well.
And just one on Steve. What have your conversations, I guess, been like with him, and is it how long is it going to be before he can try to hold it back, I guess?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a wait and see. He's good. He's I think enjoyed the green whistle for an hour yesterday. But no, he's positive. I think it's somewhere around the 10 days to 2 weeks, and then maybe you try and bat with a split and see how that looks. So I think it's a bit of a wait and see. I'd say first test maybe unlikely, and then kind of go from there. But it's a bit early just to tell.
Hi Pat. I know you want to sort of win every Test series. You've got the Windies coming up, and then a big winter this time as well. But does having sort of been here, having won it 2 years ago, having lost it today, does it give you a desire to do well straight away and to do well over the next 2 years to get back to this showpiece?
Yeah, of course. To make these finals, it's normally off the back of being really strong at home, but you've got to win some away series, and good chances, we get to do it straight away. So. Yeah, 3 Test match series, you're straight into a really important cricket. I think that's one of the good things about the World Test Championship. It's every Test series and Test match feels like you're playing for something significant. So, yeah, in some ways it's good that we get to dust ourselves off and turn around in a couple of weeks and start looking ahead to the next one.
Pat, you mentioned the need for a reset before the next WT cycle. Can you just elaborate on how that might look and what the processes are there?
Oh, again, it's probably more for the selectors and, me to sit down and we kind of map it ahead. I think, say, in white ball series, a lot of the time it's kind of you build on 4-year cycles for around World Cups for ODIs. And, I think maybe it's an opportunity in a Test match to do something similar, but it's a little bit early to tell. But, again, coming to this match, you've got guys like Sam Constas and Scotty Boland, Josh Inglis, all those guys who are right on the fringes. So I think, again, after this Test match, everyone gets thrown back into the conversation and it's a little bit of a reset for that first Test.
Babar Azam, what a shot. Grateful shot. Another shot has gone for 4. What a shot. एक बार फिर बहुत ही खूबसूरत शॉट बाबर आजम की जानिब से एक और खूबसूरत शॉट टाइमिंग के साथ खेला गया बाबर आजम